Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. We're at the halfway point of the college basketball season. This is that point of the year where I feel like teams start to definitely have an idea of where they're at, right? I think.
No, that's a really good point. And there are people out there scratching their head and saying, halfway, no, college football's not over yet. The NFL playoffs, people will start kicking in mid-February, post Super Bowl, and say, well, how are teams doing? But a lot of the kinks are already worked out. Teams are going to be playing their 15th and 16th game. It's a 30-game regular season, so we're halfway through. We have an interesting dynamic in all divisions now. We're talking all divisions, in that we're between semesters in college basketball. You have to really judge how much rest, what's the right rest, even the time of day that you practice. So it's not normal in basketball for guys to sleep till 1 o'clock, roll into practice at 2, right? During the semester, they're going to class and then going to practice. When you're on the road, you're getting up early for a shoot around. So there is, you have to get that balance when you're at home. You don't want them to get too rested. Sounds crazy, but not too rested. You also have the challenges of travel at all levels. Like somebody would say, well, you're just on charter planes or you're staying at great. Yeah, but think about what's going on in the Big Ten, right? Michigan, where I came from, just went out for a week to play in California. Now, school hasn't started yet, so there's a little bit less of that academic pressure. But you do have the challenges of travel. There is a certain comfort in that everybody's now playing known opponents. So when you look at the schedule and Penn State is playing at Illinois, they know where they're staying. They know how to get into the building. They know what time they're going to shoot. They know it's going to be a hostile environment. They know the players, even though teams have changed. You're now 15 games. You know who's on other teams. One of the things that no one on any staff or any player pays attention to are the brackets or the net. And we're getting them now daily. We're now down to daily brackets and daily net. It's fabulous. It is great for the game because it gets people to discuss the game. It gets fans amped up. Joe Lunardi, and his bracketology, it has become a cottage industry. And we're going to have Joe on late in February, maybe even early in March, to talk about real bracket. But the excitement that they create and the conversation that they create doesn't really get to the locker rooms, doesn't really get to the boardrooms where teams are and coaches are meeting. You don't talk about it on the bus.
I assumed at late night you were just refreshing Ken Palm to see where you guys were at.
Never, not once. And I think with all that's going on, there's a lot of churning around the game. Coaches being sued, and you still have now, should there be 5 years of eligibility? And you have all these things. The beauty stays in the game. It's going to be 5 guys, right? 5 guys from VCU against 5 guys from St. Bonaventure. My next game, Towson and Drexel. It's those teams against each other. It's not, well, how much money is he making? But he's a transfer. That changes our preparation. No, that's gone. Teams are still looking to get their rhythm and playing Wednesday, Saturday, playing Tuesday, Friday. Getting this rhythm helps. Most weeks now in conference, if you watch it, you're home and you're away. That's another way to get your rhythm. And then the other thing, other than brackets, because some people out there would say that must consume everybody's time. The other thing that we need to do for the good of the game, all of us, there are no well, that's a new team. It's a brand new team. Those 11 guys weren't with the team last year. Yeah, but they've been with the team since June. So you're 6 months into multiple times a week being together. So I really hope that everybody enjoys the games. Let the other stuff, that's for another time. That's for another place. But for now, halfway through, how's your team doing? What does your team need to improve on? And what about individual players? As a staff, you're working with individual players to sometimes lift them, sometimes deflate them because they're getting ahead of themselves. As fans, let's start to fill up these gyms, the gyms. Let's fill up the gyms and give these players a true home court advantage.
I'm really excited to see how the rest of the season plays out because of just what we've seen, the way things are taking shape. As long as we can just stay focused on the game.
The game.
The
Perfect.
game, right?
Perfect. So it's time for the Martelli Minute. Status Solutions Network is committed to making a difference by providing Alicia's Law, compliant safety technology to schools through a grant of use, ensuring that financial barriers never stand between students and proper safety. Each community has the power to create real change. Learn more at statussolutions.com. I'm giving you 4 this week.
4.
Not 3.
Spoiling us.
To build real relationships daily, it takes work. Real relationships. What do you know about that person beside you? What do you know about that person at work? What do you know about that player on your team? Real relationships. That's knowing what you need to know. Knowing what you need to know. Not, well, I think. So in a setting, how many children do they have? What are their children's names? Because all of that impacts performance at work, in the community, on an athletic team. Give more than you take, and you will naturally get more than you expect. So many people are philanthropic. They want to give of their time, their talent, their treasures. You're not giving to get. You're not giving because I get something back, but naturally it comes back. Surround yourself with those who possess relentless ambition. Relentless ambition. That's going to come back in our guest segment today. A relentless ambition. And also someone who is giving and therefore he is receiving. And then to start a new year, forgiveness is a powerful form of self-medication. You can be out there forgiving, but you're going to lift that burden off of your chest, that heaviness of your heart when we learn to forgive. It's a powerful form of self-medication.
Well, thanks to Status Solutions for 4. We got a bonus one in there, Martelli minutes. And with that being said, I think we can't make him wait any longer. We have a rock star waiting in the wings right now.
Juan has done incredible things. Just some statistics here. City champion in baseball. 7 public league champions. That's a nice number. No. Forget a nice number. It's a record in the Philadelphia Public League. Greatest title he could have, father, teacher. How about this one? We're going to get into this. He's a Phillies employee. He works as an interpreter for Spanish-speaking players. Blew the room away at the preseason City 6 basketball luncheon. Blew them away. I was on business people were hitting me during his talk. And we were just a fledgling operation. And I said, got it. They were sending it so that we knew that this is not a survivor. This is not a breast cancer survivor. This is a warrior. And that's the greatest title that I can give him. He is a champion. He is a warrior. And now he's going to make a difference.
An incredible intro. I mean, you're really crushing it with these intros. We're gonna welcome on Juan Namnun to the podcast, the Frankford High baseball coach, but really so much more. Juan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me, Coach. That was a little much. Thank you.
I've been known to say a lot.
I'm very grateful.
But it's always from my heart, Juan.
I'm grateful. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jared. Thank you.
Thank you for joining in. We know you're giving us some time between class, and kids are coming back from a snow break yesterday after coming back from a
extended
Christmas break
yeah.
before that. But
little bonus day.
Yeah.
Juan, what we'd like to start with is your journey.
Sure.
How did you end up at Frankford High School and the baseball journey?
Sure.
Where did that come from?
So I was a student at Westchester University. I started out my college career very briefly at Kutztown University, where I was hoping to play some baseball. Small injury, and then I kind of realized, you know what, I want to be a teacher and coach like one of my mentors. So I transferred to Westchester. My senior year at Westchester, they had a student teaching program. All future teachers have to student teach, and the school district of Philadelphia at that time had a program where if you student taught in the city, you were essentially guaranteed a job. So I thought, wow, what a home run that is for me. So I student taught in Philadelphia. One of the greatest decisions I ever made in my entire life, aside from asking my wife if she would marry me, was calling my high school baseball coach and saying, Coach, I'm going to be student teaching not far from you. Can I tag along? Can I be a volunteer assistant? Bob Peffel. And he said yes. And I couldn't believe it because as far as I remembered, he didn't have too many assistants. But I started student teaching, and I drove myself to Frankfurt's baseball field every day and just started getting an education my senior year of college of what coaching was really about. Because it was so much more than ever that I could have imagined. It's so much deeper than just on the field stuff, right? And then I did get hired in Philadelphia, and only after a year of teaching in a great elementary school, I was incredibly blessed to find my way into Frankford High School as a teacher and as a coach, which was a little baffling to share an office with my high school football and high school baseball coaches. That was surreal for a little while, but I was an assistant for Coach Peffel until 2008, when I was incredibly lucky to be named head coach, and I've been here ever since.
Juan, now we're going to go to that day.
Okay.
That day, you're in a doctor's office or you're by phone, and they say to you, you have cancer. It chills me to say it out loud. Can you help us get into the mind and the heart of a patient at that point?
Can I back up just a couple weeks?
Yes.
Okay. So I always, this is part of what I'm trying to do in changing the whole conversation. I found my own lump, didn't say anything because I completely thought nothing of it. I thought it was something minor. Who knows what it was? And I let weeks and weeks go, which quite honestly almost took me past the last stage where it would have been nothing else that could have been done. And we're not having this conversation, but my wife found it in the kitchen some time later and just lovingly lost it on me. And within an hour, I was on the phone with my doctor, and then that just snowballed into as many tests as you can imagine. But to talk about the day, by sheer coincidence. We had a vacation planned. We're old school. Even though our kids are a little older, every once in a while we like to drive to Disney World. I know people are like,
Wow.
driving, but our kids learned when they were infants that the car was good. The car isn't something bad. So the car was 100% full, packed. The key was going into my front door, locking it when my cell phone rang, and I recognized the number, and I said, okay. I answered it, and it was the specialist that had run all the biopsies. And my kids are looking at me from the car like, hey, remember, we got to hit the road. We drive overnight. And the doctors, the one thing I've learned to appreciate throughout my entire journey is that there's no sugarcoating it. We can't get into that right now. We just have to be honest and attack what's in front of us. And he said, all your tests came back. You do have cancer. You have breast cancer. And you get that gut punch. You get that moment in time where everything stops, and you have to kind of bring yourself to just take a breath. I waved them back in from the car. We went back into the living room, and I explained to them exactly what had just happened. We stood there and cried as a family of five, my beautiful wife and three boys. And I did ask the doctor. I said, doctor, is this something that I'm going to cancel my trip and come to you guys right away? He said, how long are you going to be? And I knew that response wasn't great. I said, it's just a week in Disney. He goes, you have the greatest week of your life. And then that next morning, I need you in my office. We have a lot of work to do. I'm not a uber religious person. I pray every night. That week in Disney was more needed than anything I could ever possibly state, because it was desperately good for the soul to what was coming down the road. So that was that day for us, was a lot of just reflecting right in that moment.
Juan, this make a difference is often talked about in communities. Can you ever verbalize family support? What did the family support do for you?
I always have a little tendency. My kids make fun of me. I tie everything into sports. It's a horrible habit, but that's what I know. That's growing up in a house, the Dominican household of baseball. You can, in my opinion, you can never achieve greatness in anything alone. It's just impossible. You cannot succeed in anything unless you have a circle of people that are willing to do anything for a common goal, right? A common path. Without my family, there is zero chance or doubt in my mind that I get through the journey that I'm in, on the other side where I'm at. There's just my boys and my wife and some close personal friends did everything to make sure I was moving forward, and to make sure that my path was headed in the direction it needed to be. It's very easy to turn on the woe is me, when you
Yes.
get that news. It's very easy to get down on, well, you really don't know what's coming down my way, so why should I keep trying? And if you don't have that little circle of people telling you, no, we're not doing that, we got to keep going. The mind is very powerful. So without them, without my boys and my wife, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where things end up.
Well, to continue on that family theme, just for a second, Juan, it's not your nature. I need you to brag about the best center in high school football in the state of Pennsylvania, a state champion. How did that come to be? And what's your sense of the inner workings of that powerful program at St. Joe's Prep?
I'm definitely gonna talk about that in 30 seconds, but I would get a ton of hard times at home if I don't mention. So I have three boys. The oldest son, my oldest son Jared, he's an all-decade player, and he played at East Stroudsburg University. He just graduated from University of Pennsylvania. My middle son is a Maxwell winning quarterback. He broke records. He is now playing at Widener. Um, and then my youngest son is obviously the center that you're talking about, Jake. So Derek is my middle one, and Jake is my youngest son. But here's the funny thing before I go into that. I'm a baseball lifer. Like I said, I was born in the Dominican Republic. My dad was involved with Winter League baseball with Felipe Alou. Me and Moises Alou would run around the fields like crazy. And here I have these three football guys that are like so accomplished. And I just scratch my head like, what did I do? Like, where did I go? But um, the three boys, to have them at home, it's pretty comical to listen to them talk. But yeah, Jake at St. Joe's Prep, it had a remarkable season, and the coaching staff and his teammates are essentially the best football minds you can get nationally, and you just stand back and let the greatness happen and watch the people don't understand, from the outside in, the amount of work that
Yes.
these young men put in. People, you see a highlight on social media, you read a report online that they've won by this much, and people go, okay. People have no idea that just the hours of effort and work that these kids put in, and then on their own, you know, put in countless hours on top. I can tell you what my son would come home from 6 or 7 hours of practice and then practice more in our backyard, more snaps, more steps, more everything. Yeah, people they have no idea. They just see the end result, and that's just a testament to the greatness that is them.
Juan, you mentioned that work ethic, and clearly they got it from someone. My guess would be I'm going to safely assume the both of you, but I just think about the work that you have had to put in, not only to be an incredibly successful
Thank
coach
you.
for Frankfurt High, but also the work that you had to put in this battle that you faced with male breast cancer. I mean, we talked about the diagnosis, and it's not even on so many men's radar, right?
Right.
Because of how rare it can be. When going through this battle, I'd really love to know. We talked about the support you got from family, from the community. I mean, I'm sure your team. What did you kind of learn in that, and what kind of do you think was the biggest thing that kind of helped you pull through and not become and become a I guess
Sure.
go from a someone who was diagnosed with breast cancer to a breast cancer survivor?
Of course. Thank you. The first thing about the work ethic, I, I would attribute growing up to my dad. He would always, dads always have those one-liners that, most are what they are, and then some stay with you forever. And one that my dad would always say to me is, and I'm sure everybody's heard this, but it was, if something is worth doing, then it's got to be worth doing right. Like if we're gonna put in time for any little thing, then why not do it right? So I've always tried to drive that into my boys and here my guys at Frankfurt. If we're going to do anything in practice, then you better believe if we're going to spend time on it, then it's worth it, right? We're not going to do anything just to waste time. That just doesn't make any sense. Um, and this the next thing, to talk about the community and my kind of my mindset. This kind of comes with something that I use as our program philosophy here. And coach, you just kind of nailed it with your intro. I have a Swedish proverb that I will forever hold near and dear to me that has been around in my journey, and it's pretty simple. Shared joy equals double the happiness. Shared sadness cuts the sorrow in half. I kind of realized, right? When you're a coach, the more your teams celebrate together, the happier people are. The more you share in losses, big losses, the less they hurt, right? So I took that early on in my cancer journey, and I said, I gotta let people into my battle. I have to share the joy of when I go to the doctor and I get some good news. I gotta share that, just like I gotta share when I don't get the good news. I gotta share that bad news so I can cut the sorrow in half. Um, because at the end of the day, and this ties back in, we're never alone in anything that we're doing. And the more we share the highs and even the lows, the better we are getting back to that center where we can continue to drive forward. And that's I've realized that in the community around us, I'm blessed with. I can't tell you how much love and outpouring I've gotten, but I don't mind sharing. It's not, a lot of people initially are like, oh, breast cancer, you're a man, and that's where the conversation has to start changing because in my journey and partnering with the American Cancer Society, 3,000 men are going to get this diagnosis, and very few will understand what the process is, what the path is. And if you don't share, if you don't take time to start telling people, this is what's happening, here's the good news, here's the bad news, it's a really lonely world, cancer. So why not attack it with everything and everyone around us, right? Isn't that the point of what we're doing?
Amen. Amen. Can you I'm aware, I'll say it this way. I'm slightly aware of how you're using baseball, city baseball, to have others join this fight
Yep.
to crush cancer. Can you give us the
Sure.
background and then how can we help
Sure.
with the program that you're running?
This is one of my new passions. So early on in my journey, right, of just seeing cancer and not knowing, am I going to be around in 6 months? The tide started shifting to, okay, things are looking pretty good. I got to change the focus from me now. Okay, we're starting to get a grip, my treatments, my surgeries. I got to do something for out there, for the world, to kind of start building a conversation around breast cancer in men and cancer in general, by the way. Um, and one of the best things I did, I connected with a incredible woman, Taryn Jones, with the American Cancer Society. And I said, I need you to help me, to use me. We got to start changing the conversation out there. And I just started thinking while I was in my treatments and just my wife and I would sit down and it dawned on me. I've heard of the coaches versus cancer in the basketball world in the city of Philadelphia. What an amazing thing that is. How can I combine my love of baseball and coaching in high school in this city? And how can I make an impact? I just want to change the conversation, not necessarily a financial impact, but an impact. Um, and I brainstormed with my wife and I connected with Justin Kessler of the American Cancer Society, and we came up with the first Philadelphia Coaches versus Cancer High School Baseball Fest, where we got together. We started small, 8 teams last year, and we played a one-day baseball fest where we just had non-league games. But the goal was to start the conversation months earlier with the coaches and their respective teams about what is breast cancer, what is male breast cancer, what is Hope Lodge in the city of Philadelphia. So I wanted conversations to start happening during practices while guys are getting water, while guys are jogging. Let's talk about it, because if one kid goes home and says, "Mom, maybe you should self-test," or maybe you're due for a test, or Dad, if you find, and we ended up getting, I mean, again, I'm a high school coach. I'm kind of new to the process. So we ended up getting a couple small corporate sponsors that were amazing, KDI Technologies and JKJ, and the Phillies. The Phillies jumped in, and John Joaquin of the Phillies allowed us to use the fields down in South Philly. And then one day we had, 200 young men playing baseball, but talking about screenings and what ifs and how can I help. We did raise a nice dollar amount, which was very exciting. But I didn't realize the impact it would make on the community at that point, to the point where we're now planning year 2 for the second annual. It's already a little bigger. I'm hearing that some other stations may want to get involved, and it's all to help the folks at the Hope Lodge and the American Cancer Society. Because I honestly, people don't understand the financial burden when you get you get the call, hey, you have cancer, and you just don't go to work. Your spouse may not go to work for months and months. Now you're supposed to get yourself to doctor's appointments, get the treatment you need, food, bills. So we're just trying to impact that little community and really change the conversation about male breast cancer. Not from two perspectives. Number one, as men, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it because at the end of the day, the sad reality is more than enough of us are going to know somebody that has it, but
Yes.
hopefully not too late. Um, and the other aspect of it is I'm trying to help change the conversation from the medical community. I often joke by saying this, but it's true. Every single one of my doctor's appointments that I went to, one person said, "Oh, wow, you're my first male patient for breast cancer."
Mhm.
And while I was polite and I go, "Okay, well, that's nice." I often joke that's the equivalent of taking your car to a mechanic and they go, "Oh man, I've never worked on this before. This is exciting." And you're just giving up your keys willingly. I don't think so. You're going to go to some other mechanic, right? So, I want to change the conversation amongst the medical community in that let's work on the wording. Let's work on all pink. So like, my social media little images are blue and pink because that's male breast cancer. And I'm super proud that the American Cancer Society has now included a blue and pink ribbon in most of their advertisement campaigns nationally because of some of the work we've done.
We have had a lot. This is a community hero.
Ah,
And Juan, I want to say this on behalf of Jared and I. Make a difference. Our podcast, we would like to come to your baseball tournament. We're going to do an episode at the tournament. Outdoor. You figure it. You're the technical guy.
Yeah,
Juan,
I'll have to
with
figure
your
that out. Yeah,
permission,
no,
we would love to come there.
it would be an honor. It would be an honor. I mean, I know for a fact. So the Phillies are all on board already, and what that means is that we'll get some amazing guests. For you guys, I know that Mickey Morandini, Dickie Knowles, Milt Thompson, they are big supporters of this. They will be by. They would love to say hello. And again, the more we talk, especially to uh, your audience, right? The more we can get out there, the more awareness, that the lower the rates will go down. I'm not gonna. It's not a positive. It's not a pleasant thing to always talk about, but somebody has to change the conversation, right? Somebody has to bring it up, and it would be an honor to have you guys at our event
Count
on
us
that
in.
one day.
Count us in.
That's amazing.
We are absolutely positively in. I know you're going to go somewhere with this now.
I know where I'm headed with this. All I'm thinking about is, man, Juan, if you don't, I hope this. You said it's a non-conference. I hope we're not talking like March baseball here, because I've covered my fair share of March high school baseball games. We're gonna be a little bundled up there.
If you know Northeast baseball, anywhere from New Jersey and New York and all, March baseball is not fun. No, we're talking late April.
Love to hear that.
Late April, we're talking maybe high 70s, low 80s. A light wind. The field's down at South Philly at the Philadelphia Urban Youth Academy. Dick Allen Field and Richie Ashburn Field, immaculate complex. It is a picturesque day that I think you guys will enjoy very much. The baseball will be fun. The crowds are great. I like to just make it about the kids that day, and we honor some folks that are also battling and warriors, and it's a good day to be at for sure.
That sounds incredible. And you mentioned of course the Phillies getting involved and your work with the Phillies as an interpreter over the years. And I just had one question. And I need to see you two duke it out. Who is the bigger Phillies fan here? Because this guy right here is a Phillies nut, a self-proclaimed Phillies nut.
I'm fully aware of that. I absolutely am aware of that. Years ago, many years ago, I was working some Phillies camps. And I made, it was a simple question. It was a harmless question. They would have players make appearances to just chat with the kids. And I would go, "Oh man, do some of our Spanish players ever come?" It wasn't for me, but it was for some of our Spanish kids. They could see some of their idols also speak. And unfortunately, the answer that I got was, well, some of them, their language, they're a little nervous, they're a little timid. So they try not to, too much in the public. So again, this was, I don't know what possessed me to do this. I said, oh, I'll translate for him. That's no big deal. And that just started a long relationship um, where Carlos Ruiz, Mikhail Franco, Freddie Galvis, just some of the pitchers. This is going back some time before it was a mandated thing by Major League Baseball. So I would just get a call. I would, drive down to the stadium, and I would just, either. And this is. Do you have 2 seconds for a good story though?
Please.
Some of those appearances I'd have to put on a Phillies uniform for, just so I could appear on camera. Now, if I were to stand up right now, you would look at me and go, that is not a current Phillies player's body. So I'm standing outside the elevators down underneath the stadium, and Ruben Amaro Jr. walks by, stops and looks at me, and I'm in full uniform, and like panic set in on his face, like, who signed this middle-aged, not the most in shape looking human being? And he like eyeballed me and then just kept walking. And I'm just like standing there, like in a little bit of a panic going, oh man, this is I don't know where this is going to go. And then he came back around the corner and I just said, hey, Mr. Romero, I'm just one of your interpreter. He was like, oh, thank God. He was like, okay, I was just worried a little bit. But yeah, it's certainly been an amazing relationship that I've built with the Phillies, and they've allowed me to just have so many great moments as far as things of that nature. So it's been a good partnership for a very long time.
Well, I know we would agree, Juan. I know we would agree. The greatest moment for all of us is still to see that parade down Broad Street.
I was there.
I still can't get over that we haven't had one these last 2 years, but I'm going to hold out hope.
As a fan, I would
eternal.
agree.
I'm looking for Broad Street this year.
I feel like we may have 2 shots at it in the next 10 months.
Oh, yeah. Juan, you've brought us so much joy in this conversation and so much to think about. We always end this segment with this question: who's made the difference in your life?
I mean, this is pretty straightforward. My wife and my 3 sons have driven me my entire life to everything that I've ever done, both on a field or with my cancer journey. Without them, just they're not exactly loving all the time. They didn't take my I'm weak today. No, you got to get up, Dad.
Yes.
Or my wife just not taking any of my nonsense when I just didn't have the energy after treatment or my surgeries. My boys, they're diehard sports fans. They would sit by my side when maybe it's not the funnest or the most fun, to just sit and talk stats and talk who's the best and who's the great, and just to kind of keep me moving forward a little bit. They make the difference. They're the ones that, it's when Coach, when you talk about the championships and the city titles that means I'm not home a lot.
Yes.
That means that practices run late, some Saturdays, and we're getting ready to travel to Florida as we do every spring, and that is not an easy thing to just step away from the family, and there they are, always supporting and loving and pushing and being okay with the endless hours away and stuff. So that's a pretty easy one for me, is that if it's not for them, then I don't know what I would do.
Well, Juan, you have made a difference. And everybody out there, like, this is not a challenge. This is a must. You need to pass this to your family, to your every other member of your family. This interview must make a difference, because Juan, you're making a difference. Thank you for what you've given us today.
I'm grateful for you guys. I'm honored that you gave me some time, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Juan. Thank you so much. We
Have
really appreciate it, man. Have a great day.
Too.
One of these days we got to hit a single. We can't keep going for these home runs. We got to play a little small ball, because
small ball
blew us away.
No small ball particularly with cancer. There's no small ball. This is great job. Great job.
I mean, he was absolutely wonderful. And that is the whole that's the whole point
That's
of the
it.
show. Yeah,
That's it.
that's what we've been trying to
Make
get
a
at.
difference.
Yeah. Juan, just terrific. I mean, thank him so much
Thanks.
for coming on. I'm still thinking about the Ruben Amaro story. I mean, that cracked me up. Just I'm thinking because he tries to frame himself as not quite the most in shape, and I'm like, have you seen half of the pitchers of Major League Baseball? I mean, you turn around
and Ruben Amaro is good people. He's often in my phone. He's watched this. He has seen some broadcasts that I've done. He's really good people, and my brain just kind of gave me an alarm. I was just asked to appear at a South Jersey baseball tournament, Coaches versus Cancer, in the spring. They asked if I would come and address the crowd and all that. So I'm what Juan's doing in this city and through baseball. Like we said, he's not a survivor. He's a warrior. And a big key, family. Families are impacted because the spouse may not be able to go to work. Things change. Think about that. His family vacation could have been canceled. We have to do all we can to crush cancer. And certainly Juan has pushed us, propelled us forward. In a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about Coaches versus Cancer, the Suits and Sneakers week that's taking place. That originated in Philadelphia, but we'll get there after we talk about where I was.
I just one last thing. I'm struck by his strength when you talk about going to Disney World. You get a cancer diagnosis, and you still say, I can't let my family fall into anguish here. I'm driving us down to Disney
Great
World.
point.
We're spending the week, and I'm gonna be brave for everybody, so we can enjoy this time together. Because like that to me, I mean, to drive that's a hike all the way down there. That's all the way down to Florida and back. And
How about those boys though?
When you have that
an
hanging over your head?
all-decade player, a player at Widener, the young man at St. Joe Prep. Yeah, that was
some terrific
good
football
pickup.
players. Yeah, absolutely. A busy week for you though. A busy week.
Started at Temple, Wichita State. Went over to practice. Went to the game on Friday. Some threat of snow. I was there all day. I think I'm eligible to get a degree now from Temple because I was there 11 hours on. That's how long it took you to get your degree.
I think it's more than I
Okay.
the time I put in there. I do want to give a shout out though. 6th program ever to reach 2,000 wins.
No question.
Really one of the all-time great basketball programs.
Can you imagine during that broadcast having an opportunity to interview Jamal Mashburn and to research and see he had 29 and 10 in the legendary game at the Spectrum against Duke? He was on that Kentucky team. So it was really cool. But there was a moment in that game that will go down in history for me. I got a tap on my shoulder, and I looked to my right, and there was standing Meg Sabia McCarthy. Meg Sabia McCarthy in the movie Mighty Max played Judy Mara, who is now Judy Martelli. Meg was standing there with her glow on, expecting her 4th boy. And Meg Sabia comes from a Norristown, Conshohocken family. They've been around forever. And to get a picture taken with her, it was really, really, really cool. So if Meg's out there or her family, thank you for bringing her back into my life at that moment in time. It was terrific.
I want to know what just general thoughts. How'd she do? Do you think her portrayal was
well, there was some controversy because she was a gum chewing nursing student. And I'm not sure that Judy Martelli has ever chewed gum. Saturday, had a wonderful opportunity to go to a 90th surprise party for Kathy McDonald. Worked 40 years at St. Joseph's, surrounded by these legends from St. Joseph's. Don DeGioia, none better. Kevin Quinn, right on that same level. Mike Diorca, the legendary Claire Ariano. I actually offered Claire a job, but she told me she's retired and she doesn't think that she can read my writing, but I need somebody to help me with my answering of emails and my scheduling of trips. Then came home. Bryant game. Good recovery game. They're back. They're healthier. Played Maine. Was able to see that game. Flipped right from the Bryant game to a live stream of Bishop Feehan freshman basketball, and then took a trip with Madeline Jeffries, one of her teammates, and her cousin Danny. And we went to Conshohocken Marriott, and she got a chance to meet the UConn women's basketball team. Take some time for me to spend time with Gina Auriemma. And I have to give a shout out to those programs. I'm just amazed at how they've raised these young ladies to make people's day in the way they greet people, the way they're so accommodating with pictures and autographs. So that was a terrific day. Sunday, Palestra, Penn State, Indiana, great atmosphere. Indiana traveled very well, as you know. They travel real well. Penn State bringing a home game to Philadelphia, a whiteout. There was a lot of discussion about another sporting event that Penn State's involved in, but I was happy to be there, support my son Jim, and I think it's a message. You have to be creative, and Penn State being creative, coming to Philadelphia every year, and they know 8,200 or 9,200, whatever the building holds, they're going to get that. And then as they process, fortunate enough, as you well know, to be there with Michigan last year, Indiana this year. They've had Tom Izzo. They've had Fran McCaffrey. They've had Matt Painter. And people that understand the game and coach, I'm not just talking about the game in terms of like you're playing in a museum. No building has held more games. So standing ovation for Penn State, continuing that process of playing in the Palestra and playing in Philadelphia.
And you applaud that for the. I know there may be some people that think it should only be for Philly schools, but people, do people know that? I mean, Penn State's played there since it opened.
No, they wouldn't, because it's not a television story, but it should be. Actually, during the game, Robbie Hummel, who's terrific, turned to me and said, "This building," and I said, "Yeah, I get it. I know exactly what you're saying, and it's like this, and it feels like this, and it's a little bit underutilized right now, but let's get it back." Best building in college basketball. Monday, drove to D.C. Sunday night to avoid any kind of storm. Monday, shot 3 more of the Beyond the Paint shows. We had Jay Billis on. We have Steve Lapis on. We were unable to get Sean Miller and Archie Miller because Sean was stuck in a blizzard. Susie McConnell, Cindy Griffin, Debbie Antonelli. We did women's basketball. We did NIL transfer portal. Woj, the GM, was on. Those shows will come up later in January and in February. The first show is now out. 6 great players from the A10. So I had a full day.
All available on the A10 YouTube channel. They're also going to be airing on NBC Sports Philadelphia throughout the next week.
Yep.
You can check out the A10 website for the listings of where you can get them. They're really a bunch of regional networks are going to be carrying that. all over the place, which is awesome. You got to hang out with your buddy T-Mac, friend of the show.
T-Mac was great. And there is a picture out there of him applying whatever he was applying. He said, they had to take the shine off my head. I was like, I don't see it. I didn't get it.
Is he available? We actually need a makeup department here for Make a Difference. Is he available?
No. You know why? He's getting ready to do Packers Eagles on the radio on Sunday.
Oh, man.
So now, where am I going?
Where are you headed?
I'm going to head to Drexel to see a practice because I want to get ready for the Drexel Towson game on Saturday. But Friday night, really big deal, connected with Juan. Coaches versus Cancer in media, St. Mary Magdalene, headed up by Kelly Doyle and Elizabeth Jeffries. I think Friday night is a doubleheader, girls and boys, 7th and 8th grade, all day Saturday. They sell T-shirts, they sell rubber bands, they sell socks, and they educate these young people, really young people, from first grade up about getting that message out to your families, and let's crush cancer. Saturday, I will do the Drexel Towson game. Saturday night, there'll be a joint celebration. Elizabeth will be celebrating a birthday along with Callan Martelli, Jimmy's youngest daughter. She'll be celebrating her birthday. We'll have some passing interest in football, like there's a Thursday night game, there's a Friday night game, and then there's a big game in Philadelphia on Sunday, right?
Are you going to pick a side, by the way? We'll start with this Penn State Notre Dame, and it is a big conflict in the greater Philadelphia region of who should be rooting for who.
And here's what's scary. Here's what's scary. More than 50% of the people who are conflicted on the game didn't go to either school.
No.
But they are, I used to tell people in the Midwest all the time, they'd say college football. I said, in Philadelphia, it's either Penn State or Notre Dame. And then there's a little pocket of in Bridgeport for Alabama. I said, but it's all Eagles all the time during the football season.
Yeah, a little bit of Temple football erasure, but I'm just kidding. But
no, they can't. That Matt Rule. I will always say that the two greatest jobs in sport that I have been close to were what Gino Auriemma did at UConn Women's and what Matt Rule did during that run at Temple.
Wow. High praise.
That was really spectacular. But we have to watch Eagles Packers because we might blow the roof off, Make a Difference next week with Monday's guest. So if you want to roll that out there right now, we have to be ready because the Einstein of football analyst is coming on the podcast next Monday.
That is correct. We have the one and only Ray Dinger joining the pod next week to talk all things birds. It is going to be a lot of fun. I hope I'm not going to say anything. I'm just not going to speak.
Can you imagine
any further
a Hall of Famer joining us and a playwright? Maybe Make a Difference maybe we could get on the board, so to speak, and become a theatrical performance.
Baby steps. Can you sing?
Nope.
I can't either. So where exactly we go?
But Ray Dinger, yes, Hall of Famer, yes, savant in football, but bottom line, straight up Hall of Fame human being. Really excited. And I think it boosts if it's an Eagles win. So we're rooting Eagles.
We were always rooting Eagles. We were always going.
We
were always rooting for the Birds this weekend.
With Pat Jeffries, the leading seat procurer throughout the Delaware Valley for people.
I will say our We'll have to wait and see. I didn't want to knock on wood or anything. We've gotten burned once with the big anticipation of a guest in that realm, and our team's letting us down. But I feel good about the Birds this weekend. So let's just speak that into existence and hope it is what it is. But I didn't get a pick. So who you rooting for then? Penn State, Notre Dame? What's your take?
No, I'll
Just
watch. I'll
Yeah,
just watch.
Yeah, I'm probably.
I
just
will
gonna
actually. I will be prepping. I'll be prepping Drexel and Townsend. That's Thursday.
Yeah.
That's my prep day for that game.
Fair enough. I'm in the same boat. It's as you can imagine, grew up in a basketball family.
That's it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, if you guys like what you heard, feel free to go ahead and like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you were on Spotify or Apple listening to this, go ahead, give us a 5-star rating. We would always, always, always appreciate that. Head on over to P&J Make a Difference if you're looking to get in contact with Phil to make a difference. Tell him your story. He is looking to get boots on the ground to make a difference in any way he can in the classroom, in the workplace, on the court, off the court, wherever it may be. You can follow us at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X. He is Phil_Martelli on Instagram for the Martelli Minute. He is also on Twitter at Phil Martelli. We are on Facebook, Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. That is all we've got for this one. Thanks again to Juan Namnun. He was unbelievable.
Please share it.
Yeah,
Please share
I mean, we're begging you. Just a powerful, powerful guest. And we'll leave it at that. We'll see you next week.